Hey guys, this is PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading In Which Bruce Wayne Tries to Keep His Chaos Children Under Control and Utterly Fails by Wherein. The summary is, Bruce invites the Justice League to his house for a league meeting, wherein they meet the Batfamily and realize that Bruce is a tired dad and no longer gives a single fuck. Alright guys, without further ado, let's hop right in. The newly formed Justice League had never been inside Bruce's actual house before. Diana had been to the lake house once before when she had met Bruce to discuss the parademon invasion, but no one had ever been to the actual house. In all honesty, none of the others had even realized that Bruce had a house beyond the lake house. That bit of knowledge had come about when Bruce had called and told them that the next meeting would have to be held at his home, because he wouldn't be able to get away for a while. Clark had tentatively asked if there would be enough room in the lake house for all of them. There had been a moment of silence where Clark could hear Bruce judging them through his phone before he said that, of course, they wouldn't be using the lake house. They would be using his actual house. That had only served to highlight to all of them how absurdly wealthy Bruce was. It wasn't that they didn't know he was stupidly rich, but this kinda just threw it into perspective for them. So here they were 1 week later, standing in front of a truly ridiculously large house. Diana had called it a manor, and Clark had been inclined to agree because it was fucking huge. Barry looked like he was about to pass out as he continuously ran his hands over his clothes, clearly fretting about their admittedly shabby state. Victor even looked kinda stunned. Arthur looked like he didn't know what to do in the face of such grandness. Diana looked the least uncomfortable about this, but she was a literal princess, so Clark didn't think that counted. Clark sucked in a breath, stepped forward, and knocked on the large wooden door. The door swung open on sheer chaos. Alfred answered the door with a smile and word of welcome, ignoring the chaos occurring in the background. He ushered the League into the manor and shut the door behind him. The League was too busy watching in horrified fascination to say anything or even respond to Alfred's welcome. Bruce was standing in the large entryway, yelling back and forth with a man who was just as tall and muscled as he was. The man had eyes that were nearly a lime and green color, and a tuft of white in his bangs. He was wearing a brown leather jacket, black t-shirt, ripped jeans, and black combat boots. Clark could see a series of concealed weapons on his person, as well as the guns holstered on his thighs. Both men were gesturing as they yelled, and the younger looked like he was about to deck Bruce in the face. A young boy was attempting to stab what appeared to be a lightly flushed, deeply sleep-deprived teen with what looked to be a katana, while another man tried to talk him down and take the sword away. The teen was easily dodging the slashes and stabs, all the while drinking from a mug that smelled like coffee and typing something on his phone with his other free hand. The man was also trying to plead to the teen to do something to help. That ended in the teen looking up and planting a hard kick into the ribs of the kid, maintaining eye contact with the elder the entire time. Clark was pretty sure the teen was running a fever, but if he was, then why was he drinking coffee? There was a group of 4 people off to the side watching the chaos with a relish that seemed out of place. The blonde girl and the black boy cheered when the teen kicked the kid. There was a red-headed woman in a wheelchair who was typing furiously on a laptop. She cheered after a few moments and yelled for somebody named Red Robin to suck it. That resulted in the other members of the group, a dark-haired girl, smiling at the woman and patting her gently on the head while as the sleep-deprived teen let out a loud, "No! You know what, old man? Fuck you. I can do what I want." The man with the guns bellowed at Bruce. "No, you can't, Jason. You are legally dead. Not to mention you can't just shoot everyone who pisses you off. It's not a healthy coping mechanism," Bruce yelled back. That had everyone freezing in place to turn and stare at Bruce in disbelief. "That is such bullshit, B. That is exactly how you cope with your shitstorm of a life," the blonde girl said with a snort. Bruce pinched the bridge of his nose and exhaled noisily. "Thank you, Stephanie. Is there a reason you're still here?" Bruce asked tightly. "I'm waiting for Tim to finish kicking the shit out of Damien," she answered with a sharp smile. That had Bruce whipping around to locate whoever Damien and Tim were. His eyes landed on the trio, child, adult, and sleep-deprived teenager. Clark assumed the teen was Tim since he was kicking the shit out of the kid, presumably Damien, who was putting up a very decent fight. The man was trying to get them to stop without getting stabbed himself. "Boys!" Bruce yelled and dashed over to the trio before grabbing Damien and Tim, wrenching them apart. Tim had somehow managed to not spill a single drop of his coffee in the scuffle. "Damien, put the katana down right now, and stop trying to stab Tim," Bruce ordered, even as he had to dodge out of the way of the sword. "I will end him and his stain on the family name," Damien screeched. "Dick," Bruce said in a clear help-me tone. "This is fucking gold," the man with the gun, Jason, said to the group before he had joined. "Damien isn't even trying anymore, not after the last time Tim beat him down," Stephanie informed him. "Since when is the replacement a badass?" Jason asked. "Tim's always been the most skilled outside of Bruce and Cass. He's just preferred to be underestimated. You don't walk away from training with King Snake and Lady Shiva without learning a few things. Not to mention whatever Ra's al Ghul had taught him during Tim's annual kidnapping. The red-headed woman said. Holy shit, for real? He trained with both and lived to tell the tale? He also spent a few months learning from Richard Dragon, Stephanie added. Jesus Christ, then why didn't he... Jason trailed off, but clearly the others all knew what he was talking about. That's not really a conversation to have when we have company, the woman said and gestured over to where the frozen members of the Justice League were standing. Yo, B, your gang is here. Jason yelled over to Bruce. Bruce looked up and over at them with a look that was pure tired dad, trademark. This was punctuated with Damien having reached around enough of Bruce's bulk to sink his teeth into Tim's thigh. The teen let out a shriek and started to shake Damien off like Damien was some kind of dog. Get him off, B, he's biting me. Why the fuck are your teeth so sharp, you little gremlin? Tim yelled. Bruce swooped down and pinched Damien at the hinge of his jaw, forcing him to let go of Tim's leg. The moment the team was free, he scurried over to where Jason and Stephanie were. Through it all, he never spilled a single drop of coffee. Bruce finally wrestled the sword away from Damien before tossing him over to the man he had called Dick. Clark was assuming it was just an unfortunate name choice, and not Bruce calling him a dick. The man immediately restrained the flailing child as Bruce made his way over to them. Sorry about that. This way. We're going to meet in the dining room because I don't trust Jason not to set the house on fire just to spite me, Bruce said as he turned and led the way. Hey, fuck you, Jason said. The League silently followed. Because what the hell were you supposed to say to that? Behind them, something glass shouted and Dick yelled, Where the hell were you hiding that knife? Bruce didn't even stumble as he walked. That said to all of them that this was something he was far too used to. They all, except for Bruce, winced at something else shattering, and the room behind them went worryingly silent. Should we... Arthur asked silently. No, Bruce said without hesitating. What if one of them is hurt? Clark asked. As if to emphasize what Clark had said, Tim's voice cut through the silence. I'm bleeding! Suck it up, replacement. It's just a few teeth marks. At least it wasn't Croc. Jason's voice snapped back. That was followed by the impact of flesh against flesh, and something large and heavy hitting the ground, and then more silence. Again, Bruce didn't stop or stumble as he led them into the large dining room. It was well appointed, as presumably the rest of the manor was. The only thing that marred the beauty of the room was a large scorch mark on one of the walls, where it looked like something had exploded, and someone, probably Alfred, had tried to scour the mark off but hadn't managed it. The team took their seats with a level of caution that they wouldn't have used before walking into the manor and seeing the chaos. So, who were all those people? Barry asked once they were settled, and some refreshments had been laid out by Alfred. My children, Bruce answered. Arthur and Barry choked on their drinks, and Clark's drink went down the wrong pipe. Barbara and Stephanie aren't my legal children, since both still have parents, but the others are legally my children, Bruce said. Which one was Barbara? Diane asked. The redhead in a wheelchair. After that, they got down to business, while also keeping half an ear out for any more breaking objects and screamings of pain. Midway through the meeting, a bloody-faced Jason stomped into the room, grabbed a chair from the table, and dragged it, screeching across the floor to the fridge, where he proceeded to rifle through the bottles of liquor on the top of the fridge, before grabbing a bottle of top-shelf tequila and pouring half of it into a large water bottle. He climbed down and dragged the chair back to the table. Don't worry, I'm 21, Jason said and walked out. He is not. Ignore him, Bruce told them before going back to the meeting. A little while later, the dark-haired girl glided into the room before crawling into Bruce's lap and going to sleep. Bruce merely shifted his position slightly so she was more comfortable and then went on. The meeting ended when something big sounded like it detonated in another part of the manor. That had Bruce jumping up and sprinting towards the entryway, dumping the girl onto the floor, with the team right behind him. They were up the stairs and halfway down one hallway when a door opened, and Jason, Tim, Damien, Dick, Stephanie, and the other boy whose name they didn't know yet, all came stumbling out, followed by a huge black cloud of smoke. I told you it was too much baking soda, the boy coughed as he tried to wave the smoke away. Duke, are you all right? Bruce asked. Yeah, everything's good, B, Duke said, coughing again. I thought you were supposed to have a fucking degree in chemistry or something. Jason snapped at Tim as he hacked up smoke. Bold of you to assume I have a degree in anything. And what the hell were you thinking adding tequila to the mixture anyway? Tim responded. Tequila makes everything better, and how was I supposed to know it was going to explode? Gee, maybe when he said, Jason, don't touch that because it's probably explosive if handled wrong, Dick hissed. Well, at least it was exciting, Jason shot back. Don't make me knock you out again, Jason, Tim growled. Fucking bring it, replacement. I let you get that shot in. You didn't let the failure do anything, Todd, Damien sneered. 3 hours. I asked for you to be here for 3 hours so I could get through my meeting. Was that somehow too much to ask? And when I said that you would not set the house on fire out of spite, Jason, that did not mean you should take it as a challenge, Bruce asked. You're the one who decided to have the meeting here. That is totally not on us. You could have left and gone to a different place to have your meeting. Stephanie said, trying to wipe the soot off her face, and only succeeded in streaking it further on her face. Her blonde hair was a lost cause for the moment, streaked as it was with smoke and soot. No, I couldn't because Tim was running 102-degree fever, and I didn't trust any of you not to kill him in his sleep. A fever he's still running, so don't give me that look, Tim. I can tell from here, Bruce said sternly. It's fine, Bruce. That's what the coffee is for. It makes the fever go away, Tim said, smiling brightly as he could while covered in soot. The remainder of his brothers and sisters all looked at him with disbelief. Baby Bird, that is not how that works, Dick finally said. I'm with Dickhead on this one. You're missing an internal organ. You need to rest if you're sick. Why didn't you say you were still sick? Jason said, frowning. I'm fine, Tim disagreed, even as he swayed back and forth, the flush now darker on his face. Right, I'll get him cleaned up and in bed, Jason said, and picked the protesting team up and carried him off. Would anyone care to tell me when he set up a mad science lab in West Wing? Bruce asked tiredly. I legit thought you already knew, Steph said, shaking her hair out now. Lovely. I'm going to have to go hunting for the rest of them then, Bruce said. He turned to the face of the League. I believe that today's meeting is over. Alfred will show you out. Bruce walked down the hall before disappearing into a room and did not come back out. Right, well, thanks for coming, I guess, Dick said, sheepishly rubbing the back of his neck. Damien snorted and walked away in the direction Jason and Tim had gone. Stephanie grinned and waved at them before following after, leaving Dick standing around awkwardly with the rest of the League. Okay, well, I have to go get ready for my shift, so later, he called and jogged after the rest of his siblings. Silently, the Justice League were led out of the manor, and the moment the door shut behind them, Victor turned to the others and said, You know, this explains a lot about Bruce. The rest could do nothing but agree with him. Alright guys, and that was the end of In Which Bruce Wayne Tries to Keep His Chaos Children Under Control and Utterly Fails by Red Queen Reigns. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you next video.